Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Pullboxpals. I'm your buddy Mad Mark, and this is my friend over here, Monk. And man, I really dig our new intro song.
Hey, don't thank me, thank the muse, baby, because all I am is a vessel. I'm just here to exist to allow the muse to just pass through me and funky. I'm a really big fan of that like background, like
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love. It's very gorillas esque, and I
What
love like
what
what
was your muse?
what was my muse?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But besides him, I don't know. You said you wanted something with sax, and I wanted something that was like chill but a little bit upbeat, and that's I feel
Yeah.
like what we got.
We got it. We nailed
Let
it.
us know what you think in the comments below.
Yeah, do you like our
Also,
new intro? Let
I
us
feel
know.
like our cameras are at interesting places for those of you who are watching. I feel like you're looking up and I'm looking down. So if we could figure out a way to like get me on top of you, that would be pretty dope. But I'm not going to screw around with anything. It's like the Brady Bunch
So I
intro.
must be looking at you now.
Yeah, and I'm looking at you. But
Yeah.
again, this is just a visual thing. Sorry for the
Yeah.
audio people.
I changed my I changed the way that my camera sits because it hadn't been working for me, and I finally say, you know what, it's time for a change.
It's time for a change, and I'm a
Uh,
big fan of that poster, buddy.
yeah, I had some Disney rewards points and got a free. This is like a legit like movie poster. So if you put it in like one of the display boxes on the outside of the movie theater,
Monarchy,
it would light up.
or is a
Monarch.
monarchy just for the words?
I guess in a way it'd be like a monarchy. I don't know if that's what it would be called for the poster,
I mean, isn't
but
everything just a monarchy when you really think about it? Or is this one of those instances where it's like
is it monarchy or is it marquee?
I we need to abandon this bit
Here
is
we
what.
go. Yeah, we're changing the subject.
So hey man, did you we're well, I guess you should be asking me this first, but was I able to make it to the comic shop this week? And
Yeah.
the answer is no. And
Oh.
the reason is we got a big old snowstorm here in good old Pennsylvania. And yeah, I didn't feel like going anywhere. I had them, I mean, obviously I got some stuff. I actually don't have very much in my pool box, which is a
Yeah.
bit of a bummer, but did it snow out there?
It's kind of nice though. It's nice on your pocket.
Yeah, and like I was I was looking at my like to read pile, and there's just there's stuff in there that's like second tier, like gotta read. You know, like there's
Yeah.
stuff that I'm like really loving and just want to stay on and like even go read back and reread. But then I just look at this pile and I'm like, I'll get to you. But
Yeah.
then that pile just continues to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's kind of something that's wrapped up in my goals for this year and the comics I'm choosing to collect is I don't want to have a pile. I want to read everything I'm bringing in, and but like I mean, I do have Berserkers in my pile because I'm waiting for it to finish up because I just like I've said before, I just want to read it all the way through. It's just too
Mm,
exciting to wait for the next one to come out, and so I took a pause on that. But then I still have like the last two issues of what was it, Jurassic League
mm.
are in that pile, and the last three of Sword of Azrael, which I was pretty hyped about when it first came out, but just haven't really like stuck with it. And so it's sitting in my pile. I did pull it out of the pile the other day to take with me when I had to go work at our shop.
Mm.
And I didn't get to those ones in that daytime because I found too much stuff that was great on Comixology. So
That's funny. Yeah, I've definitely been going back to Comixology a little bit, which is mostly just because I have a little bit extra pocket change,
yeah,
just because I started a new job and being able to just buy some stuff digitally is nice.
yeah,
Comixology is a nightmare now. But yeah, I mean that's a whole thing. I don't really feel like getting into it, but
yeah,
it's a shame that there's not like a more of an indie platform for that, and hopefully like all this stuff will give rise to it. But I'm also um I've just been buying them straight from like the publishers' websites because I'm
yeah.
like that has to be the best way to support them outside of just buying them physically. It has to be buying them from directly from their site.
Yeah, I actually did that today. I talked with creator Jonathan Chance
Okay,
a little
yeah.
bit recently, and because yesterday I think I put
Dream
up
Eater, is that what
Dream Master.
Dream Master? Sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
Dream Master number 3 is out today.
yeah. So
I do want to
that came
jump
out
on that.
today, and I ordered the first 3 issues off the Black Box website, which is who's publishing it, and pre-ordered the last 2. I'm really excited. I hadn't really looked into it until he, like, because I had posed that question yesterday in our stories about, like, what are you looking forward to pulling this week? And the only people who responded were creators, and and it was their comic coming out.
Hey, that's great. That's what that's there for.
Yeah.
And I mean, we want to hear from the people who watch, but it's cool that I mean, I was thinking about this today because I'm probably not going to talk about it much, but a buddy of ours who is a buddy of some other pals of ours, I got to stop saying buddy and start saying pals more.
We got pals. We
Pals.
don't have buddies.
We don't have
That's your
buddies.
buddy, guy.
I'm not
I'm your
your
pal,
putty
friend.
fly. I'm yeah, so we have this pal named Ross who has been on the Comic Book Lair a couple times, has a really great Instagram page. I would highly recommend you go check that out. And yeah, he recommended that we pick up Art Brut and Art Brut #1, which is a remake of the Element
Electric Sublime.
That's it. The Electric Sublime. Thank you. But anyways, all that to say, it got me thinking about it when I was, going through all the hoops to buy it on Comixology. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool because I'm really excited about reading this because it's a part of a community, like I'll be able to write back to Ross and tell him what I thought about it, which I haven't done yet. And it's good, not to spoil too much about what I think, but I enjoy it. Yeah, so it's just really cool. And obviously just to everyone who listens, like, you're always more than welcome to shoot us a recommendation, let us know what you're reading. We totally want to hear that because that'll get us stoked to go find things. Both of our shops only have limited quantities of things. And
I've mentioned it before too. It's like my comic book shop, it's in the title, which I'll give them a shout out. It's Matt's Cavalcade of Comics. It's here in my hometown. And I was talking to them today about, like, just the comic book culture of this town, and that doesn't really exist, like, as far as I know. Like, most of the people I see buying comics, like I mentioned this to you backstage, but most of them seem to be guys who have been following Marvel since the 60s and, like, still just keep up with it. And, like, I've seen a couple other guys in there as well, but they're also just, like, they are working in Corvallis, and they don't live here, but this is where they come on their lunch break to get their comics. And so there's not a whole lot of people that I know in my town who, like, actually, like, read comics the way that I read comics. And so I'm trying to work on that with my shop and try and get that going a little bit more.
That's really cool.
And then on another note, which is kind of going back to what we were talking about, if any creator reaches out to me and wants me to read their stuff, I'm probably going to read it.
Yeah, 100%. Same here.
Because with
slide my DMs.
Yeah.
Send me a JPEG of your comic, just one large JPEG. So I have to scroll through it on my phone, like it's an old, like, I don't know, a scroll that they used to keep knowledge on, or they would have King's Decrees. That's how I want comics. I want them to just come in one large scroll.
Hear ye. I have a public comic coming out. You must go buy. It's really good, I promise.
Oh my god. Actually, that would be pretty dope if you could figure out how to, like, successfully use a scroll so that you could, like, slide it, like, roll one end and the other end at the same time so it goes like a moving picture. That would be pretty dope. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe that's what I'm destined to do, is to create a new form of comics. Wow. I have high dreams for myself.
There we go. We're going down the dream pipeline.
But so when you dream,
what helps with dreams, though, like reading comics. And I think we talked about, you went to your shop, or you didn't go to your shop today.
No,
you don't really have anything in your box.
Yeah, I have one thing in my box, and I'm trying to pull it up right now just so we can get a picture of it. But I haven't really read anything or consumed much media about this specific character, but I was recently listening to a podcast on the history of Disney video games, and this character came up a lot and seemed very interesting. So, yeah, this is Darkwing Duck #1.
Oh my gosh, I love Darkwing Duck.
Golden Apple Comics, if that's a thing.
Yeah, so that's actually on the app I was
Dynamite.
what I was telling you about that app last week that I started looking at when I go into the shop, and I think it's called Key Collector,
Mm-hmm.
and they put up what they believe are like the key comics of that week, and Darkwing Duck was one of them.
Nice. Yeah, so
Um,
I have that sitting in my pull box, and as far as I know, that's the only thing that's coming out that I was interested in
I do this on
outside.
here.
Oh God, this is gonna go terribly. For those listening, Mad Mark is attempting to pour a very dark looking IPA into.
Why is why do you say attempt?
I don't know, because I'm just scared. Because you're going in front of a microphone. You're trying to do it on the camera. I mean, you are a bartender.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, you did that perfectly. I'm sorry that I ever doubted you.
And
If
if you want
there's
to
an
know what it is, it's an IRA
IRA,
from Double
I
Mountain.
I was off 2 letters in the alphabet, like a dunce.
Just one. There, you
Like
forgot the
now I
slash.
feel like more of a
You
dunce.
forgot the slash and the P. So you said IPA, but it's an IRA, which is an Indian red ale, and red ales are my jam, and I don't think enough of them are made.
That's what
So,
I've been saying that since 2013. Oh, and you
mhm.
got a little foth
Yeah,
mustache.
I was
Wow.
there. I was there the first time you said it.
That's true. We would have known each other then. Yeah, and you're like, we would have been, yeah, you would have been like, we're not allowed to drink in this circumstance, and I'm just like, oh no, I shouldn't be showing my cards. Anyways, Mark, before we get too into our personal lives, like I said, that's all I'm getting. What did you seem like you got a lot, and for Mister, I'm funneling it in this year.
I am funneling it in. If we when March comes, that's when you're gonna start seeing the changes.
Uh-huh.
So my first one that I got here, I guess I'm already kind of showing it.
Yeah.
Boogeyman. I'm really excited about this. I don't think I'm going to talk too much about it today. Um, but yeah, I've really enjoyed this series. This is issue 5, so I'm assuming that this is probably the end of the arc, or since it's indie, it might just be the end. But we'll see. So I'm excited about that one. Uh,
Woo.
I got issue 2 here of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Uh, yeah, I talked about how the Turtles and the Rangers affected my childhood. Um, and next up, I got from Scout Comics, and I will be talking about the previous issue today, Mr. Easta number 3. I didn't like when you get like a Scout comic, you just don't really know exactly what you're going to be getting when
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hey, I'm going to buy this comic because it has a great cover and the little synopsis they gave sounds good. But sometimes I'm just like a little blown away by like how good it actually is. But
I
sometimes it
know.
takes until getting to issue 2, and
Ooh, buddy.
issue 2 just I absolutely loved it.
Man, this would be a perfect segue to go into a comic that I'm going to talk about. So if you don't want me to go into the segue, I won't, but I'll also say that I
Just hey,
would.
yeah, you can do that, and I got 2 more to show, and right after that, you
All right.
you just
That works.
hop right on in. This next one I'm pretty excited about. This was also on this key comics list for today. It's an aftershock, so we know that the previous issue came out a while ago, not a month ago. But it's Samurai Doggy number 3.
Samurai Doggy.
Samurai Doggy.
He sounded like an Irishman. Samurai Doggy.
And
That was
probably the one
terrible and
I'm
offensive.
most excited for that I got today, which was also on the key list, The Last Ronin Lost Years Ninja Turtles.
Wow.
So
The
got 2
lost.
Ninja Turtles today, which is probably a first for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll always remember where we were when Mark got 2 Ninja Turtle comics on the same
They're
day.
right here on the Pullboxpals on the interwebs.
Wow, man,
Yeah.
what a crazy time to be alive. But yeah, just going back to Scout Comics, I think that they are taking my spot as like the people that I get like most stoked about. It was Aftershock for a long time,
Yeah.
and not that Aftershock hasn't been putting out stuff, it's just shaky, but these guys just seem to be doing really cool stuff. And I bought this a couple weeks ago. It's called Darkland.
Oh yeah.
Um, and God, let me just first thing I want to say is this feels so good. And I've said this about Midnight Western Theater that we got, and just other Rad Wraith that I got from them a while ago. This just feels so good. So if
Yeah.
you're a fan of trying out different textures of comic books, get yourself something from Scout Comics, because yeah, it is super enjoyable. But
Yeah.
let me set up the premise for this. So we start here in this opening page that I'm looking at, because it says the character's name, with this girl named Audrey Crayer, or I guess you can call her Zed. People call her Zed for some reason. I'm gonna just call her Zed because that'll be easy to remember. But Zed is in a prison, and at the beginning there, she's being, I don't know, how do you say, in front of a council, and they're asking her if she wants release on the conditions that they join this like task force. So
Yeah.
it's set up that the world is kind of gone to shit, but there's no
Yeah.
real reason as to why. And there's different, well, I guess there is kind of example. There's, spoiler alert, there's monsters in this sci-fi comic.
Oh no.
Oh no, I like my sci-fi boring. But yeah, so there's monsters. I'm sure something happened. There's a guy, even if you just look on the cover, who has like some sort of disease that's taking over his whole body. So there's
Yeah.
like a bunch of stuff. There's inner woven stories. The main one being that the Zed here is sent by that council to get this girl, and she's like 14, but she seems to be some sort of like super genius.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that this is going to go some sort of who's killing the children, and just kind of be like, just, she's going to take her under her wing and raise her to be a great fighter and all that, yada yada yada. But just wanted to shout
It,
out the team. Oh, were you going to say
oh,
something?
I was just gonna say, like, I got that too, and
Oh, did you?
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Oh,
And I remember after I read it.
after you read it.
I was like, because I knew you had gotten it too, and I was like, should I do a review on this one or not? And I didn't, because I thought you would,
Ah, look at you.
and you didn't. I put expectation on you, and I'm so sorry.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I'd let you down. Oh, look at you being a grown human and being able to realize that your expectations are
But yeah, no, it gives
not
off
my
a lot of
responsibility.
Darkland gives off a lot of vibes. You kind of get a little bit of Alien in there. You kind
Mm,
of get kind of like some Blade Runner, Mad Max
yeah, for
type
sure.
feels to it. And the art,
There's this,
the
yeah.
art is like perfect to the title of just
Mhm.
being Darkland, because there's no bright colors. It's just, it's almost as if it like, I guess it would be almost void of light. I mean, there obviously has to be some, you can see them, but
Right, yeah.
um but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not like dark, but it's just very like rustic, and very just a plain palette of like browns and grays and that kind of stuff. And there's a really cool scene on a train. And
Yeah.
yeah. So that's great that you got into it, man. I'm definitely gonna be staying on it. It was $6, so that's kind of wild, but it was a little bit thicker of a read.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but like honestly, it's probably gonna go up on my wall. Like, I really enjoyed it. I took down Jurassic League so I could put up what did I put in its place? Know Your Station. I'm loving Know Your
Oh yeah.
Station. But yeah,
I
this
need to
might be
get
going
on
up
that
another
one. I
two.
I think I'm waiting for the trade paperback on that. But yeah, Darkland is it's your favorite number of issues. It's gonna be 4 issues.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And issue 2, I'm gonna here's a little callback to our friends over at the comic book lair, but our source isn't always the most reliable.
No.
and
Yeah, well,
uh
yeah.
and it says February 1st Darkland 2 is supposed to come out, so that's actually, I believe, next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw on our source, our secret source, that Rad Wraith #3 was supposed to come out this week, and I was really stoked about that, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So like I haven't even like I haven't even seen like the publisher or the author say anything about it, so I don't know where they got the idea, but
Yeah.
yeah, anyways, man, do you want to say anything else before we get into kind of the bigger one that we're going to be talking about for a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. I guess I should have assumed you were going to mention Darkland, when you told me it was in the title of today's episode, and I just didn't really think much of it when I saw it, and then it wasn't until you showed the cover I was like, oh right, yeah, I have that and I read it too.
Well, that's funny. That's funny that you say that because I was like, it was sitting in a pile of stuff, and I just saw it, and I was like, "Oh wait, this looks interesting." And then like, it's. I wonder how many comics I just had that I bought that I'm like, "This looks interesting," and that just went away because they just fell into that second tier of reading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
But
anyways,
yeah, you want to
we
hop into okay, let me set this up. So last week you made kind of a random purchase on Comixology because it was a good price. I think the original price was maybe $10 or maybe up to 15, but it was like 447 or
yeah.
something like that. So you got it, and then you talked with our pal Ross about it in kind of a group chat. We don't have a group chat with him. We both just talked to him on Pullboxpals. But
Yeah, and we just
you were
say
you
who
were
it's from.
yeah, but you were talking about it, and it reminded me like, oh yeah, I said I was going to get it, so I just went and purchased it, and then I read through it yesterday, and I guess I'll give it to you. You wanna talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I will. Let's just shout out the creative team here. I pulled it up. It's written and created by Alex Gran and Josh Berman, and the visuals are Charpak Dipta. And it looks, as far as I can see from like everything, is that they just yeah, it literally says publisher is just Alex Grant. So these guys like 100% just put this out on their own, and like I think that is so cool. I'm all
Yeah,
about
well,
like,
they put it out with the like comic book history something. Man, I was looking at it today. I should remember.
you should. I'm gonna pull up. This is the inside that I was just
Yeah,
looking at. There's
the
no real cover. It
yeah,
just
and I
kind of
think I
opens
think
on
it
that.
says it on that page. It's the comic book historians,
Okay,
and
yeah, I think you're right. If you
and
can
when
read the
I
fine
after I
print there.
read this, that's when I like looked in like who are the comic book historians, and they actually have like a YouTube video that has some of the interview clips that went into making this comic.
Oh, so is this really based off of a real guy?
Yeah, it's really yeah. I mean, it says on the cover, it says based on a true story.
Does it really? Am
Hashman.
I?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that. Well, you're
yeah.
better at telling stories than me. You want to set up what the premise of this is?
Yeah. So, kind of what you'll read on the back of it, it says a criminal turned psychologist, Joey Berkowitz, has a complicated past extending through East Coast mobs, the psychedelic 60s, the New York celebrity drug culture, Berkeley peace movements, the Paris riots, Altamont, Woodstock, laundering money in Southeast Asia, and sitting meditation courses in Tibet. Uh, Join Joey as he manages to escape prosecution time and time again by the seat of his pants, ultimately becoming a noteworthy shrink in Seattle, where he manages to find himself as a central figure in the worldwide cannabis legalization scene as its most notorious authorizing doc, dispensary financier, and industry stalwart. Will he make it through, or will the law finally catch up with him? And dude, I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I started reading this.
Me
Like
neither.
zero. And I don't think you did. And I read a few reviews after I read it as well. And almost everybody said the exact same thing. Like I had no idea what I was getting myself into with this comic.
Yeah.
And it is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. It was one of those like I just couldn't stop reading it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to keep going. Because it, as you kind of talked about there, this covers a whole man's life, and
Yeah.
like everything that he had experienced. And for me, I am so fascinated by people that were born either in the 40s or the 20s or something like that that have grown up in the 20th century, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
um and just like all this stuff that they had experienced of wars and the hippie movement and organized crime and all that stuff. And yeah, it was just so interesting to have this autobiography, just this man telling his story, and this really awesome art that just accompanied the whole thing.
Yeah. The art is just, yeah, I got the first few panels up here and I'll show them here.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna
I
say
mean,
I
you
pulled
start
up some
out,
too.
sorry, my light's kind of in the way.
It's
Um,
fine. I'm gonna show
but
it
yeah,
too.
you start out on the beach and it's just him and his dog, and then he Man, my light's messing it up. But then he kind of
It's
ends
fine.
up hurting his dog, and then he's at the vet getting his dog taken care of. And the opening line to all of it is, "Your dog will be all right."
Mm.
And like I just like love that whole sequence of panels on the first page. And again, the colors are just so like I like there's like an abstractness to like the detail of the art itself, but then like the colors just make it this like really trippy
Mm-hmm.
experience that kind of just vibes with Joey's entire story.
Yeah.
Like there's a few black and white panels like in the first few pages when he's in the past and recalling his like growing up, which
Mm-hmm.
was like, you know, and he references it throughout like the whole comic. It's always going back to, you know, I've always lived with like the anger of the torment of my mother, or
Mm-hmm.
from my mother, because his mom abused him, and his dad was a bit apathetic towards like everything in life. He was like a World War II vet who saw action and like was supposed to jump into Japan on the day that the nukes were dropped. And so like that, you know, and his mom was like the surviving member of her family from being in Holocaust camps.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so this is a real guy. And then you just get into this story of like when he learned how to like communicate through comedy with his first best friend as a child, who did grow up to be a comedian like his friend did. But he like learned how to communicate and like jive with people at a young age. And then by the time he was like 12, 13, he was already like hustling. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was found a way to like make money, and like it just became like it wasn't even the amount of money, it was just for him. His whole story is about like, I was always just driven by this addiction to see if I could succeed.
Mm-hmm. And just
And
an adrenaline junkie, you know, which
yeah,
I think is like super fascinating and so true. And you don't think about it of those types of characters who were in organized crimes or activists or people that kind of just chase the next big thing, you know?
yeah,
And it's hard to think that this person's a real person because they just seem to be involved. It's like very Forrest Gump.
yeah.
It's like
No,
weed Forrest Gump.
I definitely get that.
It's
There's
like if Forrest Gump and Scarface had a baby kind of feeling.
and Tommy Chong.
And Tommy Chong. Yeah. Instead of just smacking his face on a big pile of coke, he's just smacking his face on a big pile of marijuana. It's not doing anything to him. He's confused. He's angry.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, I just thought this was such a cool thing. I'm so happy that I got this, and I 100% would buy this trade paperback physical
Oh
if it
yeah.
came out. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to these creators or add them even on Instagram or anything, but I'm totally
Yeah.
going to be shooting them a message after this and just, seeing
Yeah.
if they
But
even got anything else.
I'm also now just fascinated by the concept of the comic book historians like group. And yeah, I try to check out their website and their YouTube a little bit, but I didn't get like too far into that rabbit hole. But yeah, if they have more comics like this that are like based on the real story of somebody who like kind of was underground important to like a certain scene of American history, like that's amazing. So yeah, if you haven't heard of this, you heard about it here.
There you
and
go. That's really funny.
and what's our new slogan?
You haven't read comics like this in years.
Yeah, no, like that's very true of this one. So
Mm, that's
yeah, this is
100%
like a
true.
5 out of 5 recommendation for me. Like
Yeah.
it's fantastic. Um, what else? We were going to talk about one other one that we both read this week. Which one was it?
Actually, we were going to talk about two other ones that
Two other ones. That's
we
right.
read this week. This week, do you want to talk about the one about chickens or the one about
Yeah, let's talk
vampires?
about chickens.
Let's talk about chickens.
Chicken.
Uh, it's what's for dinner, or is that beef?
It's beef. What's for dinner?
Well, I'm
But
a vegetarian, so I'm having chips for dinner.
attaboy.
Mama's proud, and I say that genuinely because I got all my terrible eating habits from my mother. Because just a quick little story that I love to tell about my mom is she was picking me up one time to go do something at like 9 in the morning, and she rolled up and she had an ice cream cone from McDonald's. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I wanted ice cream. I'm like, it's 9 in the morning. She's like, I don't care. I wanted ice cream. And
Yeah.
I've lived my life off of that philosophy. And it's gotten me just mostly just bad eating habits.
Oh yeah, and that would lead me down a whole cultural like expectation tangent that I don't want to get into because that's for a different podcast.
That is for a different podcast. But did we even say what we were going to talk about?
No, it's Chicken Devils.
Chicken Devils.
There's a real green vibe going on right now with these first two we've talked about.
Yeah, I guess there really is. So what'd you think about this, man?
I loved it. You know, last year sometime we talked about issue 2s, and it's either they're like, a dinger or they're a dip. And
I thought you were gonna rhyme something with dinger. They're either
I was going with like a D&D thing.
I do. I wish I knew any Dungeons and Dragons thing because I would make a reference to it right now, and an orc. That's the only thing I can think of. I'm an orc.
Well, there's a movie coming out, so you can quote that movie next time you want to.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah. But yeah, Chicken Devils. I like this was a dinger of an issue 2 for me. Like I loved it. Like the dialogue between like him and his wife, and he's just like trying to explain, it's like what do you expect me to do? I thought you guys were dead. I acted out, and now I'm under the thumb of these two like crooked LAPD like killer vigilantes that
right.
what am I supposed to do? Because she doesn't want him to do what he's doing as the Chicken Devil.
Yeah.
And
so if you go back to normal.
Yeah, and so if you've read volume 1 by now, like that he went through this whole story of like he thought his family died because a partner of his that helps him run this chicken like fast food company was doing a lot of shady stuff that like he was aware of it, like he knew. I think he knew.
I don't think he did. Down. I think he found out like very quickly
when shit hit the fan for his
when
partner.
Shit hit the fan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And so anyways, he gets kind of tangled into this messy business, and then he's supposed to go away on like a cruise or like a yacht with his family, and he's just like, no, like I have to take care of this. I'm going to put my family on the yacht and go. And then he leaves and the yacht blows up and his whole family is assumed dead. And then kind of the big reveal, sorry for spoilers, but you've had time to read it.
And you should have read it.
His family was not dead. They got off the boat because they're like why didn't he come? Like what's going on? So they're curious, and this time curiosity didn't kill the cat.
Wow. Yeah, I guess you're right. This is the one time that curiosity is proved to be the victor. What I really enjoyed about this is it, and this feels weird because normally we say that this is a bad thing, but it felt like a slowed down episode. Like the adrenaline is kind of wearing off from everything that just happened. We're kind of just seeing how this plays out. Like everyone's going back to their routine. And
you are in like a slower period of time where it's like, we have to move on with life, but we now have this situation to deal with.
Right. Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right that it's so well written because it's like it just makes sense that would be the circumstances that you would find yourself in. Like everything makes sense. Obviously outside of like the grotesque, like gruesome violence, which is exaggerated, but the logic of how people end up in the situations they're in is all solid.
Yeah, and then the closing pages of like the final battle of that quest was just, I loved it. Like, and you did exaggerate a little bit. I don't think that like the gruesomeness is like out of hand by any means, but it's like well done.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't really have anything else. Just it continues to be good.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're not reading Chicken Devils, and I said this in my post, like you should be, like, it like just go talk to your comic book person and say like, I need to get Chicken Devils, like catch me up on it, get volume 1, like it's out in trade paperback, I believe, and get issues 1 and 2 of Chicken Devils. It's amazing.
You're amazing. And Can you hear that sound that's going on in my background?
Yeah. I thought it was coming out of like my room. That's why if you're watching, you saw me go,
No, that's
what
my
is
cat snoring. So there's apparently my
I
cat is
thought
out
it
of.
like yeah, I thought it was one of my cats. And I was like, it sounded for me like one of them was like stuck in the ventilation system.
I just threw a cable at it and woke it up. So hopefully that that doesn't come up. Sorry about that, everybody. If you too are starting to
the
look around and being like, "What is this? What is this humming
the things
sound?"
that happen on this podcast
My
about
goodness, what a wild country we live in. Speaking of
um
living in a wild country, you know what it's like. I this isn't a good segue.
no.
We read Nightclub number 2. um,
Do you
from
like
Mark
being
Miller.
part of a club that gathers at night?
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Fight Club, and I
Yeah,
did say
night,
Fight
but
Club
it
2 behind it.
rhymes. It rhymes. It's nightclub.
Night doesn't rhyme
But
with fight. Yes, it does. Again, I have a book of poetry if anyone wants to read it. Um, but I enjoyed this so much more than issue number 1.
yeah,
Because again, it
same.
slowed down and like was able to like be like, this is the story that we're trying to tell without
Yeah.
like shoving in an entire montage of just like explaining everything.
Well, and
Um,
it's like too. We talked about that with issue 1. It was just it was so much of a montage,
yeah,
but it set up well for this next issue, which is issue 2, and what we're going to talk about. And like I'm kind of, I guess now, because issue 1 and 2 felt like issue 1 to
yeah,
me. And so it's kind of like I'm waiting on issue 3 now, which is not normal for me to decide if like am I going to be a part of this. And
yeah,
but it's also hard to say no to something that has Mark Miller's name on it and it's only $1.99.
yeah.
Because
That's
I mean,
100% true.
I don't think everybody loves his work, but he captured me in back when he first released Jupiter's Legacy. And
Mm.
I
And I didn't say this last week, but I have Kick-Ass up on my wall, and Kick-Ass,
yeah.
specifically Kick-Ass Volume 2, is probably. I mean, I haven't read it. I haven't read it. We're really screwing up that word tonight. Read.
Yeah,
I
it's a
haven't
hard
read
one.
it. It is a hard one. Sometimes it says read. Who knows?
Sometimes like to heh. I mean the.
But yeah, Kick-Ass Volume 2 is one of my favorite comics. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just, for those of you who don't remember, the concept is there's this group of 3 teens. One of them gets in an accident trying to film a YouTube video of him supposedly doing parkour, but he's
I
on a
think he's
bike.
trying to jump from one building to the other.
Yeah, on a
And
bike, and he yells
yeah.
parkour.
Yeah.
And I think that's just Mark Miller showing his age. But he yeah, he ends up getting visited in the hospital by this vampire who gives him vampire powers, and then he teaches him how to be a vampire and tells him about a war that is coming. And so
Yeah.
this is where it gets interesting for me, is because the main dude, whose name I can't remember, he decides that he is going to be like a superhero.
Yeah.
So he yeah, goes out, makes a costume, and then starts like trying to fight crime and stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't really want to say what happened. Do we want to say what happens at the end, or do we
Well,
kind
I
of want
think
to?
well, I a little more recap with issue 1 though too is like the big mystery to me is like the first vampire that you meet that turns
Hmm.
Danny Garcia, I believe, is the main character.
Oh, look at you,
Um
first and last name.
yeah. But yeah, I can't remember the name of the vampire that turned Danny, but he like things about him that it's like he wanted to put together a team of vampires, obviously to you know take crack down on crime or whatever, because he's part of the police department. And I
Hmm.
think is it in New York City? So is
Yeah.
it would so it's part of the NYPD, and he's like a nighttime detective vampire. And he needed to start making a team and selected Danny. And then what happens in this issue, which is not, I don't think it reveals anything because you can see it on the cover, but he turns his 2 best friends. And
That's
so
fair.
like
Yeah, it is on
now
the
it's
cover.
also does like the police detective, does he know that Danny went ahead and
Hmm.
turned his 2 best friends? Like Danny has these, because like the way that the guy kind of told Danny too in issue 1 is like, yeah, it's kind of like being a superhero. And so you have this kid who wants to have a YouTube channel of him doing cool stunts and yelling parkour. You just gave him superhero powers, and so now, yeah, he's probably going to go out and act like a superhero with this nightclub. But I'm interested to see like when this first LA or NYPD officer comes back in. Like
Yeah.
that's what's clinging for me. Issue 2, yeah, was definitely not. It definitely slowed down, but it was also about like, him, about Danny telling his two pals like, yeah, like I got turned into a vampire and I want you guys to do it too, because now we can be like a team.
Right.
And
Well, they do kind of do it just for like popularity's sake and notoriety's sake too, so
yeah,
it's not just like the
for their
virtue
YouTube
of like,
channel.
right. It's not
Yeah,
just like we want to be good people. It's also we could potentially become really popular doing this.
right.
And so I think some people say Mark Millar or Mark Miller, however you
Yeah,
say it. I think he's smart enough to write it that like they're eventually going to be like, what did we do? Because
yeah,
at one point in this issue, they can't cross a bridge, and
yeah,
I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's because apparently it's a lore that vampires can't go over running water, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they live like on like if it's is New York, it's you have to go a certain way out of the city to not go over running water.
yeah.
Especially if you live like on the island of Manhattan, because as far as I know, that's an island. But I'm
Did
no
I
geologist.
I gotta go back, but did I say Mark Millar?
I can't remember.
I probably did. We can listen back later after we're done here.
We will. We'll sit and just listen to it together, and then we'll be like,
But
aha.
I don't know if it's Millar or Miller. But I say Millar on purpose because that's how I say it in my head, because I always confuse him for Frank Miller.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
funny.
that's how, like, in my head I distinguish the two of them when I see their names. And I think that if I did say Millar at first, which maybe I didn't, I don't know, but you brought up
Who
an
knows?
interesting point about his name for me and how I think about him. So
Yeah, and Jeff Lemire and Jeff, however you say it,
Lemire, but
Lemire.
I think it's like Lemur.
Who knows?
Yeah,
It could be anything. But hey, man,
we should talk. We can talk about this with our pals
we
on
could.
Instagram. Yeah.
But hey, man, you want to talk about some of the other ones that I put up in the title? Since I don't make a liar out of me.
Yeah. You want to? You got one that you read that I
No,
didn't, or
no.
is it my turn?
It is your turn.
It's my
So go
turn.
to town.
Okay. Well, let's see. You put Mr. Easta up first. Um,
Yeah, because
how
I'm
far
very
down?
curious about this.
Yeah.
Because
So this is issue 2. I already have issue 1 filed away, so I'm not going to pull that up. And then there's wait, my camera's different now. I'm gotta get used to it. Here's it. Yeah. So here's 3, and this is 2. So I got this one today. For those just
oh
listening,
no,
I held them up
well,
for
thank you.
everybody to see, but you can look at them online. It's a quick Google. Um, I'm really excited to get into issue 3 because like issue 1 again was just like it's Scout, and it's just like, wow, like this was like really interesting, but like I don't really know what it's playing out to. Like I don't really know where it's going, but it was just like an introduction to who Mr. Easta is. And what you learn about him in issue 1 is that he is the third best like assassin in the entire galaxy.
The third.
Yeah. Which is like, it's interesting, but yeah, he's the third. But I mean, how many assassins are in the entire galaxy? And
I mean, that's very impressive.
so being top 5 is probably great. Being top 10 probably is even great.
Being top, I mean, if it's an entire galaxy, being top a billion might be even, depending on how many people are in the galaxy.
Exactly. So
Guardians of it.
statistically, like how many people are assassins? Who knows? I've never looked up
One
that
out of
stat, but now I'm
5.
interested. 1 out of 5 people. Yeah, I'm sure that checks out.
Sitting in a room with 10 people, and you're like 2 people in here are trained killers.
Yeah. And then anyways, it also sets up kind of the villain of the series, which is Mr. Bones. And Mr. Bones is kind of a guy who goes into different planets and reaps them of their sources for his gain. I think that's a pretty simple way of setting him up. And he has everything, like branded. So like, like with Amazon, you can get Amazon basic things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Mr. Bones,
Basic.
iPhone cable charger,
Right.
and they just have everything. And so essentially Mr. Bones is kind of set up to be a Jeff Bezos in a way, I guess, is what I'm getting at, but
Oh my goodness.
not
Political.
really. Oh man, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That wasn't really political.
But hypothetically, in a way, like you can draw things to people like Jeff Bezos and just like putting their brand on everything,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's kind of what issue 1 gives you. And so then like issue 2 takes you back to why Mr. Easta is an assassin, and he went to like an assassin's academy where he was like hand selected by like a panel of like, this would be a good person to be a killer. and
It's a
and then
hell of
you
a pan.
and then you meet his best friend, who is the current number 1 assassin in the galaxy, and her name is Bob.
Oh.
Yeah. And she's just like, kind of like reminds me, like if I could relate her to a Powerpuff Girl, it'd be like Bubbles.
Oh, okay.
But she's a killer assassin.
And the
Um,
best, from what I
yeah,
hear.
and so the flashbacks develop the story that's now happening, which is like Mr. Bones has hired Bob to kill Mr. Easta because he originally hired Mr. Easta, but Mr. Easta figured out what he was actually doing and wanted to take vengeance out on him. And like that's what's kind of playing. And so issue 2 introduces you to like that third person who is playing the middleman with, some ties to both the villain and the hero. And on top of that, the art is excellent. It's I think it's another reason why I was able to get into like Hashman so easily, is because like the colors are similar. There's still some darker
Mm,
tones in Mr. Easta for shadowing and whatnot, but like it's the same palette of just like bright, like vibrant colors.
that's fun.
And it's all done by Kit Wallace.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty
yeah, so
dope.
that's Scout Comics, Mr. Easta. I got number 3. I'll probably might read that tonight after I read Art Brut.
Art Brut.
Art
Art
Brut.
Brut.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, that sounds like a fun little tale.
Yeah.
And yeah, I how many did you say how many issues that was going to be?
I think 5.
I
Let
think
me
5.
hold on.
Okay.
I got
You
it up
look
here somewhere.
somewhere,
Here we go.
somewhere over the
There we go.
rainbow.
Using
Way
our secret source to look
up
this in. No, dude, it's the perfect square number 4.
high.
4 issues.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
hoping, man, Scout Comics, 4 issues. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Da da ba ba ba. Ah, now
Number 4.
McDonald's got to pay us. But speaking of something else that has 4 issues, this is something that I got into this week is White Savior from Dynamite Horses. I talked about this last week and kind of set up the premise, and
Yeah.
I
Your
really
little
enjoyed it.
review of this left me intrigued to hear you talk about it right now.
Man, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very self-aware book, which I thought is very fitting of like what the tone is, because it's a lot easier to like just talk directly to the audience that way and just be very clear and like concise about what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Um there's it's it's just enjoyable. Like it's one of those books that the comedy is very easy to tell that they're writing jokes, because sometimes when I read comics that are supposed to be funny, I'm like, is that supposed to be funny or like
Yeah.
sad, or like I have a hard time like reading the picking up the mood of it or something like that. But I think the art does a really good job of relaying that. And so what the story is that there's this guy, I think I forget what his name is. I want to say like Todd Parker or something like that, because I remember his in here he says that he wanted his parents gave him an American name so that he wouldn't like get bullied as much or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the art's really fun. It starts with our main character hearing a story from his grandfather about this protector who was prophesied to protect this spot in Japan that apparently he doesn't even know if it exists. But later on in the story, he's chasing down this girl who pickpocketed him, and she goes through a door, and he goes through the same door, and he ends up back in like old time Japan and in the middle of a battle. And so he's just running around
Huh.
trying not to die in the middle of this like old like what it was called, bow and arrows and sword battle. So
Yeah.
he ends up somehow helping a victory, gets taken home by the team, and then that team is the Inoki, I think is the name of the town, or the society that was said to have this protector. And then he gets to meet the white savior, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where it ends. So it's been very interesting. It's, yeah, like I said, it's just a good funny read, and so I'm excited to dive into it more. And it's 4 issues, so that's great,
Yeah.
and again, I think what's really cool about, and this did a perfect job of setting up what I really love about 4-issue comics, is that it just used the first issue to set up everything, and now the story is ready to go. So then we're going to get 3 solid books of just story. We won't
Huh.
have any fluff, like I think it's just the perfect spot. I think Fight Night, I almost said Fight Club again. Fight Night, or
Nightclub.
no, god damn it. I almost said the wrong name, but I in the doing so I did say the wrong name. But yeah, I think that they tried to do that with issue number 1, just kind of get to this like good jumping off point, but I feel like he just shoved too much in that first issue. But this was great introduction to the characters, great introduction to the world, and then set up, boom, story's ready to go.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
definitely
Yeah,
gonna be
I
checking
missed
it
out
out.
on that one, so that's another one I'm casting off to the trade paperback world for myself.
Yeah, or
Well,
comicsology world.
well, I guess depending more on how you talk about it as the series goes on, but
Yeah. But
yeah,
again, it's
we'll
only
see.
4, so even if you do wait for the trade paperback should be like less than $14, so that'll be really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
So, you want to get into Old Dog? You
yeah.
old dog, you.
Where is this? Right here.
Y-
Old dog.
I love the
Yeah,
consistencies of these covers.
yeah. Yeah, so for those who are listening, you can go look at the covers, but there's kind of the consistency, I guess, is just in the title alone, because the title kind of takes up the top, I guess, third of, or
Mhm.
I think in one issue it might have been the bottom third, but it takes up a chunk. And like where you would see the 50 stars in the background of blue on our American flag, it says Old Dog
Nice.
in red, and it has, I don't know, bullet casing like ends in the O's.
Yeah, or bullet holes. Is that what it's
Yeah,
supposed to be?
I think it's like if when you put I'm not a gun person, so forgive my ignorance.
You're not a gun
Um,
person. You're just a
yeah,
person. This
I'm
whole
like,
time I thought
yeah,
you could shoot.
I'm like one of the only people from Idaho who's not a gun person. um, but yeah, like when you put it into like, if you're looking at your revolver and you put a bullet in, like it's like looks like the back of a bullet,
Gotcha.
and then
Yeah.
there's black and white stripes, and the black stripes kind of have some imagery behind them that I don't really know how to describe. Kind of looks like maps, like blueprints.
Okay.
Yeah, but then like the other part of it just has Old Dog on the cover for the most part, and just kind of something he's dealing with. And in this one you have kind of the statue of the Russian uh like symbol that you would see on
Hmm.
their flag, and it's black and white, and it's great. There's tidbits of like red in there, but like used more as like almost like a shading. It's interesting.
It
um
is interesting.
but the use of colors in this series is what like makes me really enjoy it, because each panel just sets the mood with a different background. And I guess like one way, so I recently read that series you want me to get in on,
Oh,
that Texas Blood.
there we go. Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I saw you posted about that. You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
just
yeah.
drop this in the middle of another comic and expect me not to
Oh, we
go
hadn't
off on
talked
this.
about that yet. Did we
No,
talk
not at
about that
all.
last week?
No.
Oh, maybe I read that. Yeah, no, dude, I read volume 1. Like, fantastic. Like, I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it.
I
But yeah,
like. this
I
old
don't know
dog
which
you just turned
issue
into.
this was in, but it was no, I think it's the last issue. So when the main, like, the guy that you described is like, it seems like this is supposed to be the guy for like the series, like he's the brother who comes back to town. I forget his name.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I can't remember it either. It's been forever since I read that.
after he goes in and gets his revenge, and like the cops show up, and like each panel is based on the cop lights, based on whether they are red or blue facing them at the time, and that's
Mhm.
like panel to panel for at least a page, I think. And like that was wonderful, but like that's all like Old Dog is. I'm not trying to say that there's police cars in this, but like every color that is used as the background for each panel is just so perfect for the story that it's telling, that it just really
Mhm.
draws you in. Old Dog is kind of seeming a bit to me in a more noir way,
Nice.
like Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, just in the way that the panels and pictures like help tell the story. Um, and but yeah, so issue 3 here, so like issue 1 is like him kind of like, you get the premise of, this is an old dog, like he'd been in the CIA for a long time, and he thought he retired, but then he was brought back in, and then 7 years later he wakes up from a coma, or maybe it was 8 years later he wakes up from a coma. You find out in issue 2 that he has his daughter has also gotten into the same life that he lives, that he didn't, I don't even know if he knew his daughter was still alive. I can't remember. Um, but you kind of learn about her at the end of, I think, issue 1. Maybe it was issue 2. But then this issue here is about kind of like their relationship picking up from the moment that they realized like they were working together,
Mhm.
because they were put on an assignment together, and just like they have discussions about their issues from the past, but they also know they have this mission they're supposed to do, and so like that's the journey through this one. And I don't want to give too much away since it's still pretty new, but
That's a pretty dope concept.
it's another like father daughter, like, story.
Mhm.
Like I really liked Last Flight Out. That was a father daughter story. I'm a father of a daughter, and I don't know, I guess those just
It
resonate with me.
Yeah, it hits home.
But
That's
yeah,
understandable.
it's I really like it.
Do you
So
think you and your daughter will ever grow up to find yourself in a similar circumstance?
oh no, I don't have the training or the skills for that. Um, but yeah, so this is with Declan Shalvey.
Who knows?
I think, yeah, Declan Shalvey. That's what I'm going to say. With Clayton Crowles.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I really liked it. Anybody else out there who's reading it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So
Nice. Good stuff, man. Well, the last comic, I guess I'll just do a little shout out to, that I read this week, was The Wasp, #1. And
yeah.
really enjoying this. Uh I'm super interested in the character of Janet Van Dyne, because I think, and I did I post this or not? I don't think I did. But what I wanted to say in my review is the fact that Janet Van Dyne, I feel like, has had the one of the biggest changes in like their character persona. Well, I shouldn't say one of the biggest, because a lot of no, I didn't post about it, but yeah, I really think it's interesting to see her go from a character who was just very much just like, I want to go shopping and Thor is so hot, to being like somebody who wants to be a business entrepreneur and to do the right thing for the society. And one of the things that she's doing in this comic is building a bar so that superheroes can come and have conversations and not have it
Huh.
always just be um a high strung situation where they'll be able to sit down over cocktails and just discuss issues and not have it always
Yeah.
just be like, we have to fight about this thing.
Right.
And so she's also doing stuff with Nadia, her stepdaughter, and yeah, just some stories builds off of that. And I'm excited to see where it goes. And yeah, that's all I really, really have to say about that.
Awesome.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
man.
I think mine's sitting right over here. Like it's somewhere in that stack
It's
of
Did it
comics
shrink
to be read.
down? Is it really small? Can you
No,
not see it? No.
no. Oh, wait. No. Oh, yeah. That's
What?
what it's doing right now.
Oh no.
Interesting. Oh,
Wow.
now it's no.
Oh,
Well,
now it's going down to the Quantum Mania. Oh
Well, I
God.
guess I'll have to wait until that movie comes out.
Jonathan Mayers is here, and so is Darren Cross's big silly face across the chair. Oh, Marvel. But hey, man,
Well, speaking of things that are flying high, we should probably, because MC is flying pretty high.
oh,
Um,
I'm
I
like,
realized that didn't catch.
no, it didn't, because the last thing I was thinking about was going into the quantum realm, and I'm like, yeah, I guess maybe that is like flying high and like a, like everything's paradoxical. You're getting small, but you're getting big.
Yeah,
Who knows,
I'm
man?
working on my transitions.
It's okay. They all can't be as solid as and as terrible as mine. But
Hmm.
yeah, man. Do you want to? Oh, I guess it's my turn to land this bird. Wow,
It is. So,
what an
Monk,
honor and a thrill.
where can people find us?
Well, people can find us at the Pullbox Pals, not the Pullbox Pals, even though we are the officials Pullbox Pals. Us too,
Yes,
right here.
we are the officials, but the membership is open.
But yeah, you can find us at Poolbox Pals. We're on Instagram, which is where we're most active. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitter, which we're not very active there at all. You can find each of us individually. Mad_nerdy. That's for Mad Mark over there, and I am that monk guy. Yeah, and we should probably tease this out a little bit, but we are going to be doing a crossover episode with
Yeah,
our aforementioned buddies who our
our
aforementioned
pals.
pals, our pals. We have to do that when we're on their episode. We're doing a crossover. We're going to be on the Comic Book Lair next week. Next Monday, I believe, is when the
Yeah,
episode comes out. We're
yeah.
recording
So
it this
check
weekend.
give that a listen, 'cause that's gonna be really fun.
It's
I've
gonna be a
really
lot of
enjoyed
fun.
like chatting with them on Instagram. So it's just gonna be fun to like go live, or I guess they don't go live, they record, but we're gonna have a sit down and chat with them, and
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. So
Yeah, I'll
and
be sure to link that
we've
in the next week's episode, so it'll be around. But yeah, if you just want to
yeah, and
just go give them a listen because they're great. A lot of fun stuff.
they've dubbed this collaboration the pull box layer.
Cool box layer.
Yeah,
So maybe we'll do a weird spin-off podcast where it's only comes out once. No, I get too ambitious.
it makes it sound like
Uh,
we're going like oh man, this sounds bad. It sounds like we're going into the basement.
Oh God, the pool
Pull
box
box
layer.
layer.
Oh Lord Jesus. All righty. Well, if you're gonna land a bird anywhere, it's
You
probably
got
gonna
to
be
go to the
there.
basement.
Oh gee, it's the basement bird. Yeah, that's where you land birds at. Did I ever tell you this story? This will be the last story that I'm gonna tell on this thing, and then we're gonna leave. We're gonna leave at the end of this story. But I had a buddy once. We were driving to a show. It was me. Actually, it was a full car of people. We were in a truck, and I was driving, person in the passenger seat, and I had three in the back. And we were talking about weird stuff that we were scared of, and I can't even remember what I was saying. Mine was, but my one buddy goes, "I'm really scared of birds," and we're all like, "That's really stupid. Why'd be scared of birds? Like birds aren't gonna hurt you. That's totally fine." And this is the days before GPS, so
Uh,
we had like Google Map directions printed out,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we like had to pull over to look at some of the directions, and we all had the windows down because it was the summer, and a bird flew in my car and just went right for my buddy who was in the middle in the back seat and just started like attacking him, and
The
then
one
it
who's
just
afraid of
the
birds.
one
Oh,
exact one who's
no.
afraid of birds, and then it flew out the back window, and that has never happened prior to or ever again, to have
Is
a
he
bird just
is
fly
he
in my
okay?
car. Yeah, he's fine. I think he was in the army, so I'm I'm sure he was okay enough. They let him pass to go into the army. They're like, "Do you
Oh
have any
man.
bird traumatic in history?" And he's like, no, I don't
That's
know."
just so hang on. So the gist of it is one day he reveals to you that he's afraid of birds, and then later on down the road you're on a road
No, that's
trip.
the same day.
Oh,
Same
the
day.
same
Same day.
Oh,
Like less than an hour later, a bird attacks him in my car. So, anyways, friends, that's all you have to say. Uh wait, no, I have to say something. You haven't read comics like this in years.